y'all, welcome to Cloveroom. My name is Cam and I'm a non-binary content creator that loves to talk about beauty, lifestyle, gender identity, consumerism, pop culture, and how all of those topics intersect and interact. If that sounds like content you'd enjoy, I really hope you will give this video a like and subscribe for future videos. I do my best to upload twice a week. Today, we're going to be talking about failure, specifically my failure when it came to my recent attempt at a no-buy project. I'm going to let y'all in on lessons that I learned from it and also how I think they could transfer for any conscious cosmetics buyer who is trying to do a no or low buy endeavor in the future. So let's get into it. So first, some context. I had planned to do my no-buy from July of this year to November 1st-ish of this year. I wanted to do a no-buy for a myriad of reasons. I wanted to simply buy less makeup, I wanted to use what I had, I wanted to get to know what I had. I also really needed to start budgeting because of certain life circumstances. And also I just wanted to kind of get in touch with my more conscious consumer. So for all of those reasons, I attempted a no-buy that was going to be around 5 months. Now, just to give a spoiler alert, I guess, what I broke my no-buy for was a very high-low, if you will. The high being the very expensive but gorgeous Gucci bronzer, which I'm actually wearing right now, and I'm going to definitely give you all thoughts on in a future video. And then the low being e.l.f.'s Seriously Satin lipsticks that I have had before. I actually have only had one and then I lost it, and I recently wanted to rebuy it, and I'm now scared they're getting discontinued because they're only on e.l.f.'s website, so I picked up 4, and then I also got 2 of their lip liners because I heard those are good. I actually was able to score a great deal on those, and I mean, e.l.f.'s cheap anyway, but I was able to get them with like deals they were having, and then also kind of store credit or rewards points I had from e.l.f. I was able to get all of the lipsticks and lip liners for $4, so fraction of the price of the Gucci bronze. But today I want to focus on telling y'all the lessons and insights that I have found from my no-buy and how I think they can kind of spin off and be lessons for your potential no-buy. Now you might be thinking, what do I have to learn from a quitter or a failure or random person on YouTube who didn't even complete their no-buy? But it actually kind of reminds me of a tweet I saw recently from, I don't know who it's from, but I'll pop it up on the screen. But basically the sentiment was, at graduations, they shouldn't just let the valedictorian or top student speak. They should also let the student with the lowest grade speak. I want to hear both sides. And obviously kind of joking there, but I do think it is helpful to learn from people's failure. I think if you didn't do very well in a process, you also have a lot of valuable insight to share on it. So if you want to develop sort of, I don't know if metaphor is the correct literary device, but sort of develop a general literary device where maybe Hannah Louise Poston is like the valedictorian of our no-buy graduating class, and I am the student with the lowest grades who has also been given an opportunity to give a speech. So I have 5 insights that I have from my failure of a no-buy, and I'm going to spin them off into lessons that I think oh my god, someone needs to get their brakes checked. So I have 5 insights from my no-buy that I think are interesting, and I'm going to spin them off into lessons or just things you might want to think about before beginning your no or low buy project, or even thinking about doing that sort of project. The first insight I have called Too Much, Too Soon. So even further context, spinning off from my mention of Hannah Louise Poston's channel, I began this no-buy project as part of her no-buy July project. Basically, Hannah was doing a no-buy July on her channel and invited her audience to do it alongside of her, and I was like, great, I've wanted to do a no-buy for a while. I've tried a couple times, but not a good college try. I would say even with this failure, we're still at a good college try. But alas, being the ambitious little minx that I am, I didn't want to just do July. I wanted to do beyond. So I set what I thought was a realistic goal of November 1st. I picked that day because that would have been July, August, September, October, 4 months, which I thought was a nice time period. I definitely didn't want to go a year or anything like that, but I thought I can do 4 months. I did choose November 1st originally because I thought I would be way too tempted by the absolute steals you can get around the Black Friday sales. But we'll get more into that in a bit. But basically, I was like, 4 months, I think it's going to be, a challenge, but it'll be fine. And I kind of decided all this in one day when I was kind of riding the high of I need to do better about buying makeup and I can do it, and raw team no buy. But unfortunately, I think even the 4 month goal was just too ambitious and I bit off more than I could chew. And this isn't the first time this sort of theme has happened in my life. Beyond Beauty, every time I start something new, I want to really kind of automatically do it all the time and be the best at it and just like dive into it. Whether it's, running, yoga, or starting yoga practice, starting meditation practice, I'm like, I'm going to do this every day. I'm going to do this every day. And I don't give myself a lot of grace. I'm not like, maybe we should just aim for, I don't know, 2 times a week or 3 times a week. If it's not maximizing my potential, I don't think it's worth doing, which is so not true. That is absolutely not true, and that's something I struggle with in most aspects of my life, I would say. So, and I think I carried that into this no-buy project by by definitely biting off more than I could chew. I think I was able to make it to 2.5 months, and then even before July, I don't think I had bought makeup for like a month. So, but we'll just say 2.5 months. And I think if I had just done July and August, that would have been a really nice challenge and a really great way to get my feet under me for doing a no-buy. And I would have been able to feel like this was all a success. So how I would spin off this lesson to your potential no-buy is just be realistic and spend time kind of meditating within yourself, whatever that means for you. For setting a goal that's going to challenge you and be a challenge. So, not like for me personally, if I had been like, I'm not going to buy makeup for 2 weeks, that wouldn't have been a challenge. I do that all the time. What would have been a challenge is 2 months. But by setting it at 4 months, I was setting myself up for failure, I think, instead of setting a sort of stretch goal. And I think that was because I kind of, just had a night where I really sat down and did the rules, and I was writing, again, the high of wanting to do a no-buy and being excited about the project and not thinking about past things I've done in my life and how they've fizzled out. So, yeah, I would just give yourself time, maybe a week to really think about it because, you can, at least for me personally, obviously this entire video I'm speaking from my perspective and my perspective only, but I change my mind like the weather changes in the South, like all the time, constantly. I would describe myself as decisive. How would I describe myself? I'll probably describe myself as decisive in the moment, but a moment later I will change. But I will be just as decisive about it. I've gone through a lot of things in my life where I'm like, I'm going to be vegan for the rest of my life. And then I do it for 2 months. And then I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm going to be vegetarian for the rest of my life. And then I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm going to eat whatever I want for the rest of my life. I change a lot. So I think if I had really thought about it more, I would have realized how often I change my mind about everything, especially, makeup buying philosophies. And that 2 months would have been a really nice stretch goal for me. So again, spend this off for yourself. Just be super realistic and set yourself up for success if you want to do something like this. So in some ways related to my first insight, my second insight is beware of moving goalposts. So what I mean by that is I had a very wobbly end date for my no-buy. I originally had it at November 1st, again, because I thought I would want to take advantage of Black Friday sales. I think the Sephora sale is in November, although that's not a great sale compared to the fantastic deals you can get on Black Friday, in my opinion. But then as I was just saying previously, my mind changes like the weather. I would, some days I'd be like, I feel like I can make it through Black Friday. How cool would it be to not buy anything on Black Friday? And other days I'd be like, no. So then I kind of decided we're going to have a wobbly end date of November 1st, where that is the earliest I can end my no-buy and it be a success in this world I'm building. But if I go beyond that date and I just happen to also not buy anything for the rest of November, I get, I don't know, double stars. I thought that would maybe work with my flexibility a little bit more, and it didn't. It also applies to the last lesson I'll talk about, which is about how I need flexibility in a project, and I'm just not sure a no-buy is conducive to the flexibility I need in this sort of beauty consumerism project. But I'll spin this off for a lesson for you, which is just to say, once you've had that meditative time I've talked about that is very important in figuring out with the stretch goal, set it in stone. Do not change it. Don't be like, oh my gosh, I'll be even better and I'll go a month longer than I said, or I'll go 2 weeks earlier, or whatever. I mean, obviously you can do whatever you want and maybe that would be a success for you, but in my experience, make sure you take the time to set a goal that's a stretch goal, but that is realistic and that is not setting yourself up for failure, and have a clear, concrete end date. Don't be flexible about it. So the next insight I have is a bit more materialistic, but I grew bored of my makeup collection. Or maybe not bored, but I just noticed that there were significant holes in it that I couldn't dupe the vibes or iterate out of. There were certain things I had, or there were just certain things I did not have. I learned this because during the time I did do the no-buy, I had a lot of time, since I wasn't bringing in new products, to cycle through products I hadn't given a lot of love to, or things that I had maybe written off, and I really got to know them. I got to know great products that felt super new that I hadn't given the time to, that I ended up really, really loving. And I also figured out that there are a lot of products in my collection that I need to declutter because I'm not going to be able to make them work. Also, speaking of declutter, I want to film some declutter content not super soon, but soon-ish. So if you have any opinions on how you like to see decluttering content, whether you like to see a massive declutter all in one video or you like it broken up by category, any insights on that would be appreciated down below. But the reality is, as much as I love my collection, it's not that robust. It's not, and if this really changes from person to person. Like, if some of my friends saw my makeup collection, they'd be like, wow, you have so much more makeup than me. But then compared to a lot of other beauty gurus, creators, whatever, on YouTube, it's smaller. You know, I have multiple things in every category, but there's definitely some categories I have less than in, and also some categories like powder bronzers and eyeshadows where I have significant holes and where I'm really longing for simply more and better products. And I don't even want to say more, but just a better product or two. After cycling through my products, like I had mentioned, again, I found some incredible favorites that I'm so happy I had the time to rediscover. So part of this insight is actually what worked best in my no-buy was getting the time and space to cycle through my products. But I found legitimate holes in my collection. For instance, powder cheeks. I did not have a powder bronzer that in my opinion, looks good on me. And I have like several. And I now, like I mentioned, have the Gucci bronzer, and I'll talk about it in another video, but that one's great. But it was a legitimate hole when I wanted to stop wearing cream products, or not stop wearing cream products, but I just was like, man, I would love to have like a reliable powder bronzer or a reliable powder blush, which is something I don't also really have in a color that I like on my skin tone. So that was a legitimate hole that, again, I couldn't iterate out of. Same thing with eyeshadows. I got more into doing kind of fancy or different looks on my eyes, and there are a lot of colors and textures I just do not have in my collection. You know, I have a lot of one or two things, but now I'm wanting to play more with color. I'm wanting to play more with creams and gritty, glittery, duochrome textures, and I just simply, again, can't really iterate out of my collection what I'm really, really desiring and wanting. So again, while I'm really grateful for the insights I got while cycling through my collection, they kind of had an expiration date that was well before where I wanted to end my no-buy. So the lesson I'm going to spin off for you from this insight is be aware of how robust your collection is. Obviously, you're not going to be able to predict trends. You're not going to be able to exactly predict certain longings. I didn't know I'd really, actually, you know what? I did think I knew I wanted a lavender eyeshadow, and I just said I'm going to wait till November, but I want a lavender eyeshadow now. But I definitely didn't know that I was going to want to reinvest in some powder cheek products because I was so happy with the cream products I was using. So obviously you can't predict every trend or every wish that your heart may have during your no-buy, but you can be aware that if you are beauty curious that and you don't have a collection where you have something in every category that is at least usable for you, you can be aware of that and just factor that into planning how long you want your no-buy to go or how the rules of your low-buy may reflect the robustness. I've used the word robust a lot. All right, so next insight is maybe something that's even more materialistic than the previous one, but I'm just going to say it. I love buying makeup. I really love buying makeup. It is one of the, I don't want to say few things, but it is a unique thing in my life that I just love experiencing new products and new textures. I mean, that's why I want to start a YouTube channel, and that's why I love watching beauty content, because just everything about beauty products fascinates me and makes my heart pitter-patter. I don't know. And I will say I also love using my makeup, and I love makeup application, and I love how makeup transforms my face and makes me feel, and it's a beautiful meditative time for me every day. So it's not just I'm addicted to buying. I don't think I am addicted to buying. I just genuinely enjoy new products, and I love bringing them in and using them and seeing how they work, if they work for me, how to make them work, etc., etc. And honestly, the snow buy made me feel really guilty for loving that, which I didn't love feeling that. It's something that I've seen Lauren May Beauty talk a lot about on her channel, which I am obsessed with and I love her. Just about these kind of, no buys or project pan or counting a product use or, just the various amount of, projects out there for beauty lovers with an eye toward consumerism and using up your products, which is great. I have no problem with those products. I love watching content around those products, and if you enjoy doing those, that's incredible. I think that's awesome. But for me, and Lauren's talked about it too, it just feels like it's taking the joy out of something I love and just making it feel more like an obligation, or that I should feel guilty for loving makeup as much as I do. And again, this is just a personal thing, but I just did not love that. I felt like the rules I had on myself were kind of draining this thing that I use for escapism and that I love. And I know to some people they would say, well, you shouldn't love buying things that much, and you should do inner work. And I am doing inner work, try to meditate, try to do mental health walks, etc., etc. But I don't know. I just don't want to feel guilty for something I legitimately enjoy, and I don't want to put a bunch of rules that I create and that are super rigid on a process that's, for me, creative and fun and makes me feel so good about myself and my gender identity. So the lesson I'll take from this one is just don't force yourself into a no buy if it's just not at all conducive with how you learn lessons or how you enjoy scaling back. There are other projects, low buys, budgets that you can do that may help with, whatever you're wanting to, I don't want to say fix, but adjust with the no buy. So just don't feel like you have to do a no buy, I guess. I didn't feel like I had to do a no buy. Nobody was holding, anything to my head and was like, you must do this. But I did feel like, okay, I want to adjust my behavior around buying beauty products. I have to do a cold turkey no buy. And I just don't think that, I know that just wasn't personally the best method, I think, for me. And so, again, maybe going back to the first lesson, just do some inner work, meditate on a little, let it marinate for a week to see, is a no buy a good fit for how I think and how I adapt? So the next insight is pretty short, but basically I just had no accountability during this project. I don't have friends I really talk to about makeup buying. I talked to maybe one about actual makeup, but the actual process of buying makeup, and I don't really have any friends who are part of the beauty community who follow beauty gurus super regularly, so I didn't really have anyone who would innately know what I meant by a no-buy project. I guess it's in the title, but if you haven't watched videos around it, you might not. I I don't know the vibe or why somebody would do that, because you might be like, why are you buying that much foundation? Whatever. Next lesson is maybe a bit dramatic, but it's honestly the one I feel the most passionate about and the one I kind of feel the most in my gut and my heart and all that. And that is that I have enough so sad, but I have enough shame and failure in my life. And what I mean by that is I am an incredibly self-critical person, as are a lot of people. On the daily, I make myself feel shame about not doing, kind of useless or unimportant tasks. And I know a lot of people, unfortunately, do that as well. And I just felt like this was introducing another way for me to fail into my life. Because doing a no-buy, it just felt so black and white of you can either win or you can lose. So either you crossed the finish line, you met all your rules, you didn't break any exceptions, etc., crowds cheering, whatever. Or you lose and you suck. You didn't do it. You failed. Again, didn't make me feel good, and it sort of soured me on doing another no-buy project because, or at least another no-buy project without adaptations and without just trying to figure out a way where it can be a project where I can learn about myself and learn new habits, etc., but there's not just a win and lose scenario. There's room in the middle. So the lesson here is if you are incredibly self-critical and a tad bit self-sabotaging and also go into depression and anxiety holes, sorry if that's you, I can relate. A no-buy might just not be good for you. It might honestly make all of that worse. I mean, again, I think for some people it can be a wonderful thing if you do like to quit things cold turkey and have a really hard, this is what I do to succeed, this is what I do to fail. But for my personality type, I just don't think it meshed with. So ultimately, this sort of rigid black and white beauty no-buy just might not be right for me. And that's fine. I think we're all so different and we all learn in different ways. I'm still going to try to be smart about my beauty spending. I'm still going to try to be conscious of what I buy. If I actually, I don't want to say need, but if it would fill a void or would get a lot of use in my collection, things like that, that's always going to be top of mind for me. But I just think I may need to find other more flexible, less judgmental perhaps projects that can aid me toward that and not feel bad that I can't do a long-term rigid no-buy. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope maybe you learned one or two things. Maybe some of my insights resonated with you. I'd love if you have your own insights or if any especially spoke to you or anything like that, or even tips on doing a more adjusted no-buy. Anything around no-buys, I would love to hear about it in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and please remember, if you did enjoy this video, to give it a like and subscribe for my future videos. Thanks so much. Bye.